viewers, I am here with Megan in the Emperor Warehouse. Another day of filming. We are busy girls today because tomorrow we have our
warehouse sale,
annual caviar and champagne open day.
Hoping to see most of you there, those who are available in Melbourne, Greater Melbourne area.
It is a big day for us, so all our champagne on sale, plus all our champagne partners coming down for the tasting, but that's not entirely why we're here. We have some new champagnes, Megs, and this month's feature is actually a house feature, a Maison feature. So Megan and I hunt high and low for new producers to introduce you to. So we're sourcing champagne from Champagne exclusive for the club. This is one of the houses that's been on our radar. We've noticed them popping up of late with some new labels, doing some interesting stuff in the vineyard. Megs, did you have a chance to see these guys when you were there?
This is the one that I didn't get to visit, unfortunately. We could not align our schedules, and hilariously, actually, this is a little insight for you guys. When we try and go over and do work in Champagne, there is nothing more sacred in a French person's life than the lunch break. So I only had time during the hours of 12 and 2, which is just not acceptable. So
It doesn't matter that you come from Mars.
Doesn't matter that I'm
them.
here from Australia for 4 days to do this buying trip, but no. So unfortunately, they could not have their lunch break in order to see me. But don't worry about that,
Priorities.
because we have some fantastic wines. The other thing we wanted to do that was a little bit different this month is, because it's a house feature, it's a little bit of mix and match. So connoisseurs get both wines, as always, but our lovers will be getting one
selection.
or the other. So what I really, really love is for you guys to give us some feedback, because yes, we try and source interesting, different things for our club members, but also sometimes we want to see if this is a wine that we might want to stock in the future. So we want you to tell us if we should do that.
So let's talk about the house first. Herbert Didier. Now, these guys were originally growers and then turned to production in 1920s.
1959, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was 1959. So they were growers since the 20s. 1959 is when they released their first wine under the Ferdinand Herbert. That's the first, the father, who then passed the vineyard on to Didier Herbert, which is the namesake of this current brand of wine, in 1982. He subsequently passed on to his son Thomas, who now looks after the winery and all of the vineyards with his partner Marie Charlotte. And so they have the Herbert Didier range, as well as another range called Herbert and Co.
Which is super cool, and the labels are very sexy, and we're going to bring some of that in for you as well.
Yeah, I'm super impressed with these wines. So their Herbert and Co is kind of like a super premium level, but this is their, you'll be really impressed. This is their lower tier, but that's not quite correct in saying that. It is their classic range, exactly.
Yeah.
So they're also an interesting house because they own their own vineyards, and they have 6 hectares across 30 different locations across multiple different villages. So it really gives them the opportunity to, one great thing that allows you to do is, in a difficult vintage, you can blend, mix and match. So you've got that freedom because you're not just from one particular area like the Côte de Blanc, and you're not from one particular village. So what it allows them to do is really balance out any of those inconsistencies you might have year to year, and also release different kinds of wines. So you've got the Grand Cru Chardonnay, so very, very classic long-aged Grand Cru style, and then you've got their 2016 Platinum. And for those who did receive this wine, you will love that it's got a little velvet label on that.
Nice touch. So the house is located in Rilly La Montagne, which is in the Montagne de Reims, the Mountain of Reims. Classically Pinot Noir focused, but it depends on your aspect and your plots. And as Megan said, they've got some different plots around that area. But they do lead with Chardonnay. And the wines that Megan has chosen for this month are Le Couture's 2013 Au Grand Cru Chardonnay, aged for an extraordinary period of time. So we're talking 10 years on this champagne.
And in oak. And you will feel and smell and taste both that long aging and that oak contact. It was a difficult year.
It was a difficult year, but I think it's a sleeper. So 2013 being a little bit cool, a little bit wet, depending on the parcel, where your aspect was, looking good now. Actually looking good last year and the year before as well. I was tasting some Magnums and some other wines in the vineyards in Champagne, and 2013 to start with, I was really uncertain, and a lot of people didn't release it, but those who didn't had the fortitude to hang on to it. It's looking good now.
Yeah, that was the note you just read. It's a sleeping giant of vintage. And you'll see the acid profile on this is insane.
Yeah.
So this is the first one we'll talk about. So yes, it's a Grand Cru Chardonnay, obviously 100% Chardonnay. Just bordering on brut dosage. I think it's 5 grams per litre. It's a really interesting wine because what you're going to get from this is these developed tropical fruit characteristics, but with this absolute zinger of acid on the palate.
So it's almost a bit of a juxtaposition. So you've got this really ample nose. You can see that there's thyme and spice. And sorry about the noise. We are in the warehouse, so we'll speak up over the tape down, Megs. What you'll see is this tropical note. So you get this pineapple, you get this toasted coconut, you get this spice. You know that there's age, and you know that there's barrel instantly before you put your, the wine in your mouth. You know that the nose is really ample. You can see the thyme. It's got some oxidative qualities, both from the aging and the oak barrel. But on the palate, as Megan said, you've got this searing and very focused acid line. Which has kept the wine together really nicely. So you want to start with good fruit. I mean, good fruit's essential from the beginning. If you haven't got good fruit profile in the start, you're not going to have it in the end. But you really do need acidity to sort of keep it all together in the long term, and that's what these guys have done. I think it looks great. It's very marmalade-y, it's jammy, it's rich, it's toasty.
And it is an older wine, and so it's retained that fruit character and it's retained that acidity, and I think it's perfect. I think my recommendation with this was with like a roast dinner, like a chicken roast with this would be incredible.
Tell them what we were thinking off camera, Megs.
Look, a Red Rooster snack pack with a tropical snack pack with a bit of fried pineapple and a quarter chicken.
Perfect.
Amazing.
Red Rooster snack pack.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Fried pineapple.
Amazing. Is a winner with this. And look, given that you've got such searing acidity, anything with a bit of fattiness or oiliness will be a fantastic accompaniment with this wine.
Because I think it's easy when you get a really sort of an acidic wine, a champagne like this, people immediately think aperitif. And it's like, no, this kind of level of acid goes perfectly with oil. So it's like the same reason you compare like Italian whites, like a Suave, something that's got a bit more acidity to it, goes well with something oily.
Do you know what else would work? Is like a sweet and sour chicken, like an Asian cuisine, like a sweet, that sort of sweet and sour chicken.
Sweet and sour pork.
Sweet and sour pork.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Now the second wine that you've chosen is Platinum. It is the 2016 vintage, so vastly different in terms of its style. We're now leading with Chardonnay, so 65% Chardonnay, the balance being Pinot Noir, 7 grams dosage, so just slightly higher than the previous wine, 8 years in the cellar, so slightly less. 2016 was a more classic vintage, so you had the right amount of sunshine, you had some cool nights, fairly temperate summer, and a very classical champagne style. Not a lot of drama in 2016, a fairly safe vintage, shall we say. We're only just starting to see them come through now, and they look good. This is a fantastic champagne, I have to say, Megs. I love it.
Look, I'm impressed with both of them, but this one in particular is very much, yes, it's a classic vintage, it's a classic style in that it's a blend, 7 grams per litre dosage. Don't even notice it, so I imagine that Chardonnay was probably given quite a lot of acid when it was blended, because that dosage does not touch the sides. It is very much Chardonnay driven. The thing that's interesting about this is that you get a bit more of that roundness from the Pinot Noir, whereas you're getting, this is every bit of, Chardonnay. So it really incredible length as well. Incredible length.
I was about to say that. You took the words out of my mouth. It's got a lot of power. It's beautiful on the nose. At first on the nose, you get this really salty saline character, this almost powdery chalkiness.
Yeah.
Very classical, very, very expressive. But on the palate, you've got beautiful balance in terms of dimension, so width and length. Chardonnay, Pinot Noir playing their piece in terms of dimensions and weight on the palate, but enormous length. But it's not overbearing. It's that right sort of balance between giving you the oomph that you need and giving you some elegance and finesse. Classic champagne. I think it's absolutely beautiful.
And look, not trying to lead the witness here at all. I'm trying to encourage you to say that yes, we should stop this. But I'd love to get some more samples in from these guys and see. Well, we're going to do a few more of these features in the upcoming months as well, because we did find some really good and interesting new producers in our last trip over there. But yeah, we'd love to know your feedback, what you're drinking it with, what you're pairing, you know, all of that information, and just your thoughts. And yeah, this is a great house. I think they're...
And one to watch, right?
Yeah.
Because the next generation, Thomas, and is it Marie Charlotte?
Yes.
They've got their new label coming out, which we're going to source some of. They're a bit more expensive. Their labels are uber cool. It's a very different dimension and direction for the house. And I think it's very reflective of what's happening in Champagne right now. We've got a revolution happening right now where we've got all these new players. I don't know that they're new is the right word, but we've got a real...
It's the next generation, because there's rarely anyone new, but I like
experimenting, and it's cool.
What I love about what these guys have done is respect the tradition, kept, you know, the wines that their father and grandfather, etc., have been making for multiple generations, but also putting their own stamp on it with their own new little sub-brand. And you know, because they've got such a diversity of vineyards available to them, they've got the facilities and the variety in order to do that. So I think definitely watch his space. And if you want to have a look at the other wines that we're going to get in for as samples in the coming months, look up Herbert and Co. and you'll see they're very cool labels.
Ladies and gents, there's always casualties in war.
That's the bell ringing to tell us to end this month. Looking forward to seeing those of you who can come tomorrow, and really looking forward to hearing your feedback on Didier Herbert.
To the next episode. Bye for now.
Enjoy.